And we're
Hello,
on.
everyone. This is the random podcast of Awesomeness with, of course, Shadow Wolf, me.
And Gerd at 14, who is I.
Uh, Today, we went back in time to play the NES game Adventure Island.
Let's do the time warp
Now,
again.
before we actually talk about the game, I actually have a little history about the game,
Okay.
which is kind of interesting. So, a majority of people probably know this as Adventure Island, but another entire majority of this population of people that have actually played this game know it as the Wonder Boy or the Wonder Boy series, as there are actually two different game series that spin off of this game.
Hmm. I know that the
Uh,
Adventure Island series continues on through this, and even into the SNES.
yes, it does. There's actually a Adventure Island series and a Wonder Boy series.
Hmm.
Uh, it was actually made for the Sega arcade system, originally as Wonder Boy.
Okay.
It was developed by Escape, and then Hudson actually bought the rights to the game, and they actually went and changed it to Hudson's Adventure Island at first. That's what they called it.
Yep.
And it's simply known as Adventure Island by the population.
By the gamer population. Its full title is Hudson's Adventure
Right.
Island.
And in the Japanese version, it's actually called Master Takahashi's Adventure Island.
Which makes more sense given the ethnicity of our protagonist.
And going from the Japanese to the English version, the name of our main character is actually no longer Takahashi, but Master Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
My probably favorite name for any video game character.
Higgins, really?
Master Higgins.
It is a rather sophisticated name, I'll grant, but I think Soma Cruz is still a better name.
Yes, either way. But in this game, you are Master Higgins, and your girlfriend Tina has been kidnapped by King Quiller.
Are you sure she hasn't just been kidnapped by the roaming wildlife and natives?
While it might seem like that, she has been kidnapped by King Quiller, and it is up to you to play this action platforming game to
Rescue her and become and rescue the damsel in distress and become the hero of the island by overthrowing the tyrannical ruling class. Except they're not really the tyrannical ruling class in history.
But yes, that's basically all the story you get.
Mind if I compound a little bit on the story?
Sure.
Well, for one, the story that Shadow Wolf just told you, I didn't find anywhere in the game, and I've waited multiple times for the start screen to actually show me anything about the story. So I assume that he got that from the manual, right?
Right.
Okay. The rest of the story that you guys are probably not aware of is that this game actually does in fact take place in the real world. In particular, during the Philippine War. For those of us that have never heard of this, go watch Game Theories, because that series is awesome, and I actually like the guy that hosts it. I don't know him personally, but he seems like a pretty cool guy.
Yes, go check him out. Uh, so like I said, this is a platforming game. And when you start, there are a total of 8 areas with 4 stages each.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
For a total of 32 stages completely. But you have no weapons whatsoever when you first start. You will notice there are fruit which you collect. And unlike most games where you have a health bar,
In this game, you have a stamina bar.
Or at least like a time bar or whatever, yeah.
Hmm.
Because as the game continues, you continue to lose stamina or health, not health, but stamina or time or whatever. And you have to collect this fruit in order to gain stamina.
And or time. It's
Yes.
the stamina bar is pretty much just your time limit. Collect fruit or you die.
That's pretty much the basic concept of this game.
And it makes sense that you have to collect fruit or you die because you have the survivability of a gnat in a hurricane.
Yes.
Oh God. Shadow, you keep putting us back into the arcade era of consoles. Why do you do this?
Well, to be fair, I actually have this on NES.
Yay!
And it's been a while since I've played it, so I kind of forgot what it was exactly. But boy, was I surprised when I went back to it.
Do you remember it being this difficult?
I remember it being a little difficult, mainly because I was younger at the time, so I did not remember it being this difficult.
Okay. For those of you that are just joining in, Adventure Island is difficult because, well, it is an arcade style platformer. Now, for those of you that keep trying to harp on me saying it's not an arcade style because it was never an arcade cabinet, screw you. I will now define what I think of as an arcade style platformer.
And actually, this was pretty much a direct port from the Sega arcade system, yeah.
Really? So this was an arcade cabinet.
Yep.
Okay. My qualifications for an arcade platformer are: 1, it has to come out during the arcade era of gaming, which is between the early 80s and the mid 90s. 2, it has to have an unforgiving lives and or continue system, and oh my God, this most certainly has an unforgiving continue system. And 3, it has to punish you dearly every time that you make even a single mistake, and it does. Ugh.
Now, luckily, each level actually does have checkpoints.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's also a Mario clone.
Yes.
Now, why is this unfortunate? Well, because if you utilize it as a Mario clone and actually take advantage of its Mario cloneness, it'll punish you for it. It will. Okay, now it's time for all of the real hate to come in because I am terrible at this game. I could not get past Area 1. I couldn't do it. I managed to get past Zone 1 of Area 1. I did. But only once. This is partially because I didn't spend a lot of time playing this one. I have to admit that. This weekend I got the all-powerful and infamous Nintendo 3DS game. So, yeah, I've been doing that this weekend. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a guess and think that's Pokemon X or Y.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yes, I can see that you had a lovely time with this game, Gernat.
Oh, yes, quite a lovely time indeed. I didn't find the bottomless pits were actually that big of an issue, although I did fall into them at least once. But
yes,
hell,
it's not really the bottomless pits that you worry about too much.
yeah,
You're...
it's the fact that you have the survivability of a gnat in a hurricane, which is very apt. It's a very apt analogy given the fact that this takes place on the Philippine Islands, which, as people know, is smack dab just to the right of the center of the Ring of Fire.
Speaking of fire, so in this game you have several enemies, several of which shoot projectiles, several of which just are like spiders go up and down the screen.
You actually made it to the projectile shooting enemies?
Yes.
Oh God.
I've actually beaten the game.
All hail Shadow, he who is far better at this game than I.
Granted, it's a lot of dedication to actually beat this game. Gaining lives in this game. The first time you will gain a life is when you get 50,000 points. Another after 100,000. And then 200,000. And after that is every 200,000.
Jesus. That is exactly an unforgiving life system. It really is. If it was a life every 5,000 points, I could see that. It's still because it would still actually require quite a bit to do. But
Right.
every 10,000 points, how many points do you get for clearing a level?
Uh, it varies.
Oh God.
Uh, I know you probably didn't take the time to figure it out, but there are actually bonus areas in a lot of the stages.
I know that there's bonus fruit depending on the path you take.
Yes. But yeah, the bonus fruit can actually come from the bonus area in the stage. Uh, if you throw your... You can actually get two weapons in this game. There is the hammer,
hmm Which is actually
and,
the far better weapon from what I saw.
and actually there is fire, which actually is a little better because you can actually destroy rocks. And it goes a little further.
It might go a little further, but the hammer's arcing motion is definitely easier to actually traject.
Aim with, yep.
hmm
Uh, but sometimes when you throw it, you might notice that your your weapon doesn't like fall all the way through the ground. And when you notice this is when there is a secret hiding somewhere on the screen.
Hmm.
So I actually think it's in the first level that if you're on one of the parts, you'll notice that there's nothing around. If you throw your weapon a few times, a cloud will appear and bring you up into the sky.
Mm.
And you will then jump off of catapulting jump things to
Trampolines?
collect, yeah, trampoline things to collect bonus fruit.
Okay. So if you're willing to find them, the secrets will make this game much easier. Sad to say though, on your first playthrough, aka mine, I did not know any of these things were here.
Which I don't blame you.
Yes. This is not a case of a guide game, though. It really isn't. You can definitely have fun with this without a guide. It's just that if you have a guide, you're going to have a better time.
I actually read, I forget which critic said it, saying that this game deserved a C because it was unforgiving to beginning players, but once you actually played it, you were able to have a better time with it.
Yeah.
The video game critic, actually, that's what it said, awarded this, the game with a C+.
Hmm.
Saying it doesn't make the best first impression, but the more you play it, the more it grows on you. That's what
And I
they
did
had to
get
say
that
about it.
feel. I did. But I just got my ass handed to me so hard. It's like, you know what? No. I'm not having nearly as much fun with this as I'm supposed to be.
Now, the game mechanics, like the controls of this, for the most part, are pretty simple.
They're Mario.
They're Mario. For example, if you want to run faster,
You hold down the attack button.
you hold down the attack button. But
Be warned, holding down the attack button and moving will, although increase your overall top speed and acceleration, will make it so that you become instantly walking on ice.
yes,
Also, your jump momentum is completely dependent on how fast you were moving before. So if you want to stop and reassess your jump, don't try running then. And it's the controls in this are definitely very slippery and unforgiving.
and actually the reverse is also true. If you hold down your uh, button to jump, the what's it? Let's see here. The attack button to jump, you jump higher as well.
Ah,
I don't know if you knew that,
I
but
did not know that, but I don't think it would have helped me. And I probably did notice it at some point, but I didn't realize it.
uh, but yeah, pretty much, it's it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time.
hmm
Uh, and there is another item. Most of the items you really don't need to know about, but this is like one of the main items.
The
in the
signature
game.
item, the
The signature item
skateboard.
is the skateboard.
Yes. But actually, I did like the skateboard, but it has the same survivability that you do, which is weird considering that you're human and it's. The material for the skateboard and helmet was never made clear.
And depending where you are in the game, you probably don't want the skateboard.
Because I could definitely see segments where, I'm glad I don't have the skateboard anymore because this would be damn near impossible with it.
It almost makes this game a side-scroller.
Yeah.
There are sections, because it doesn't seem like you got very far.
I didn't. Like I said, I could not beat Area 1. I got to Zone 2 of Area 1, but...
I think Zone 2 of Area 1 is actually one of the water ones.
I don't remember if it's a water area or not.
But a lot of the water areas, you have to jump across clouds. And a lot of these clouds move. So being on the skateboard while...
Is it that sentence?
What now?
Is it that sentence?
Yeah. So you're going to be moving, and the clouds are going to be moving, and you have to get to safety. Which, if you're good at this game, you can do it. But otherwise, you might want to take the safer route by not having the skateboard.
Shall we go over some of the enemies in this game, like rocks and fire pits?
Yes, we can do that now. Go ahead, Gerdat.
Alright. For the most part, the enemies are not actually that bad. I mean, well, from what I saw, but again, World Area 1, 2, so... but one of the enemies that you'll hate immediately, as with every single arcade platformer ever, are the birds. Birds, my God, why you hate us so? Here's the problem with birds in most of the arcade platformers. Their patterns are definitely recognizable, but they're easily the hardest enemies to avoid because they're usually placed in areas where you already happen to have another obstacle that you have to deal with before progressing forward. But if you hit that obstacle, you're going to die from the birds or the obstacle itself, depending on which particular
which comes first. Yeah.
Yeah. The standard rocks in this game will not kill you, but they will send you either flying forward or backward depending on how you hit them. It's called knockback, people. It's a very classic staple, and it's something that's plagued pretty much every single arcade platformer ever. Damn you, SDNX.
Otherwise, fire kills you.
Yes, of course fire kills you, because it's already 102 degrees outside.
And you also have rolling boulders.
Yes, boulders one-shot you. Matter of fact, let that be a lesson to you. Everything one-shots you, except for rocks. Boulders do, but not rocks.
Which is nice if you have the fire ability, because you can actually get rid of the boulders. It does not get rid of fire, but it does get rid of boulders.
Of course fire doesn't get rid of fire. That's just simple logic. Also, Mario called. They want their fire removing fire snakes back.
As you go through the game, like in the water levels, you are introduced to it's like a long fish. And since you're moving across clouds as the fish are jumping out of the water, it can be very difficult to hit them.
So, Lost Levels called. They want their horribly designed level gimmick back?
As well as, I don't know if you ran into it. I don't remember if you saw it in the first level. There is a fox.
No, I did not run across Kitsune.
Which you will start in the middle of the screen, and the fox will come behind you and try to run into you and one-shot you. Of course, you can avoid this by jumping at the right time or hitting them.
Mind you, given the fact that they're always moving towards you, you probably want the fire weapon for them.
Either way, that is one of the most annoying enemies in the game.
Yes, I'm doing really well. I'm getting through this level. There's not much challenge. Fox up from behind. That was my last life. Fuck.
Another annoying enemy in this game are the frogs.
Yes, because frogs for some reason take 2 hits.
And you probably want to try to jump.
Don't. They jump
Don't
higher than
jump.
you.
So if you jump, it's just going to jump right into you.
Yes.
Probably my least favorite of the villains in the game. The boss is actually very easy. What's his name again? King Quiller is he has a different head each time. Don't know why, but all he really does is he like throws fire at you, and the only difference is each time at the boss stage. The first time, I think it's 10 hits, and then afterwards it's pretty much 2 hits additional each other time.
Okay.
And the boss level, it's 22. So it's not like the boss is that hard compared to the rest of the game. You just have to avoid his fire,
Right.
which isn't that hard to do.
Much like what Johnny said during his Mega Man reviews, the name of the game here really is patience. If you have the patience to plan out your route and prepare for each enemy encounter, you'll be fine. Much like in classic RPGs. Thing is, the game will punish you for not actually planning it ahead of time. You know that stamina meter that we brought up, it drains, and it doesn't drain that quickly. But if you're taking a lot of time on each of these encounters, you're not going to make it to the end of the level, regardless how much fruit you get. It's the whole reason the run option is here, so that if you know what you're doing, you can speed through these levels pretty quickly.
Yeah. So even though you don't actually have the stamina meter during the boss fight, it's going to take some time to get used to, and you're going to have to make sure you get the fruit,
Mm-hmm.
or otherwise you are going to end up probably right. Actually, a lot of the times I find myself right near the end, and then my stamina expires.
That is just so painful. It really is. Especially if it's your last life, because as I said before, this game does not have continues. No, there are no continues to be had.
There is one item in the game. I don't know what it's called, but it's a purple thing that you get out of an egg.
Okay.
You do not want this because, like, almost every second it takes away stamina from you.
Mm.
And it ends up, like, taking away most of your stamina before it goes away.
Right.
You should avoid that.
Yes.
But there are all sorts of hidden fruits and stuff in this game.
Which again appear depending on which pathway you take.
If you know where they are, you can actually just jump at that location,
Mm-hmm.
and the egg will appear, and you can break it and get the fruit.
Right. Also, what a weird way to have your power-ups form. Eggs.
Yes, it is very weird, but I suppose they didn't want question mark blocks.
Yeah, just to make it even more of a Mario clone.
It does feel a lot like Mario all the same, though. For the most part, they're like I said, there are four areas in each. There are four stages in each area, and if you if you pretty much play to the first boss, it's going to be the same thing all the way through the game, kind of like Mario.
That's what this review's tagline is. It's a Mario clone.
The first stage you have a grass sort of place. The second stage is water. Third stage is almost like a underground cave sort of thing.
And then the fourth stage is the enemy's castle.
Kind of. It's usually like a forest that leads to the enemy, the boss. And it pretty much rotates that throughout all of the game. So yeah, Mario. I'd like to actually play. There are a lot of sequels to this, so I am kind of curious to see how it goes from here on.
Mm-hmm.
Should we move to?
Yeah, at some point we have to address this graphics and soundtrack.
Yes, I was thinking if we should do that now.
All right, graphically, it's definitely passable. You definitely it at least feels as though you're in the Philippine Islands, even if a few of the flora is inconsistent. No, the fauna is actually right because snails, birds, frogs, all things that are within tropical island climates.
Yep.
Although I'm not entirely sure how common frogs are.
You never know.
Right. The graphics are definitely passable. And the same can be said about the soundtrack, in my opinion. I don't really remember the only two tunes that I heard, but then again, there were the only two tunes that I heard, so.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of variation in the soundtrack. There is a little variation, especially there is boss music, which pretty much almost sounds like they sped it up a little bit, pretty much. Otherwise, the music's not bad. It's just not memorable.
Right.
And like Gerdat was saying, their graphics aren't bad. I even actually really like the cover art for this game. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not.
It's pretty cool. The sprites are very colorful, which I do like. In the backgrounds, while they may not be like Final Fantasy backgrounds, are still colorful and.
Actually, I would say that these backgrounds are technically better than the Final Fantasy backgrounds. But then again, I don't know which particular version of Final Fantasy we're comparing it to. The NES version, oh my god, how many different 8-bit versions of Final Fantasy 1 do you need?
But yeah, either way, it's very colorful, and you pretty much get the feel of where you are. That's pretty much all there is about that. We pretty much told you about the whole game.
Pretty much.
Do we want to go over our final thoughts, or do you have any gripes or anything you want to talk about?
My only real gripe is with the slippery controls, because I want to, even in the first level, when the platforms actually do start to move up and down a bit, I'm like, okay, if I'm running and I jump at this, I should be able to make it, because I'm so accustomed to my platformer characters being able to reach their maximum jump length, even early on. Thing is, this is so much more momentum based that when I'm trying to do that here, I literally only go a couple of feet, if that, and it's like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen, and I die because I fall into bottomless pit.
Yep. Uh, I actually have pretty much one gripe about this. It's actually about the skateboard. Is
Okay.
I wish it had more control to it. While I understand the idea of it, because it is like you're being timed, you want to be able to go as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
There are points where it's just like, okay, I wish I could go back now.
Mm-hmm. Or at least slow down.
Right.
Here's the thing. I could have swore that there was a way to slow down the skateboard. You
Well, you
know,
can slow it down.
and the thing is, there is usually if you know what's coming up ahead, and there are enemies before that, you can usually manually get off the skateboard by suiciding into one of them.
Right.
Mind you, on your first playthrough, as we keep mentioning, you're not going to know about that. Mm. I'm not even the fact that it's super unforgiving is not really a gripe of mine. It's a sign of the times for me. Pretty much every arcade platformer from this era, has this problem being really
Right.
unforgiving.
Hence the term Nintendo hard.
But this game isn't really Nintendo hard. Not the same way that Astyanax was.
No.
Astyanax was Nintendo hard. Astyanax was like, how the fuck do I do any of this shit? But you were always having a good amount of fun here. This has got problems with this only really has problems with its control for me. And even though again I had to cheat to get through Astyanax, I still had fun doing that. Here, I didn't even bother to look up cheats, and I wouldn't have done it because I would have been even more ashamed if I had cheated to get through a Mario clone. Ugh. Still, it really is just a Mario clone.
Right. This game isn't bad. It has potential.
Yes.
I just wish
It needs to drop a few of its Mario cloneness and actually and adopt a bit more of its own identity. The skateboard
Right.
is a nice touch, but it's only there for a little bit, and it's actually a detriment at some points. The hammers, well, Mario already had that, and the firepower, Mario's got that too. The running and jumping feels like its own, but the momentum base actually adds difficulty where it really shouldn't be here. The stamina meter, if they had done a bit more with that, then maybe I could see, I don't want to give them ideas to make it more difficult per se, but maybe if you recover some stamina if you stand still for a while, or after you defeat an enemy, you gain like a bar of stamina. Have the stamina bar fluctuate a bit. Make it, a bit more dependent on what you do as a player instead of just constantly draining down and demanding that you collect the fruit.
Right, because the maximum stamina you can have is 13, and I think you start with 10.
It's possible. I don't ever remember being able to go over the cap that was already there.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything about the game. I think we should probably do ratings then.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start, or?
Alright, I will start. I actually do like this game, even though I'm fucking terrible at it. Again, my only gripes are with the control and how much of a Mario clone it is. But those are really signs of the times and not necessarily bad things. I want to give this game a 6 out of 10 because there's definitely fun to be had here. And if it had a little bit more originality and was a bit easier, I could definitely see this game being an 8 or 9 out of 10. Sadly, it's still it's just a Mario clone, and the unforgiving continue system, ergo there are none, really pisses me off. So yeah, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It's a good game, and it's definitely above average for the time. Look at a few of the titles that Ego Raptor pointed out during his premiere sequelitis episode.
I'm actually going to agree with you on this one. While it does seem like this game does have quite the fan base, I didn't even know about that until after. I feel that this game probably not my favorite NES game, and it certainly is not. It was still a good game, and it had a lot of potential. I liked how it is a little different from some NES games I've played, even though there is a lot about it that is very similar to Mario, and think it sort of lacks originality in that part of it. I am also giving this game a 6 out of 10.
Holy shit, we agreed on a score again. Damn. Alright, I do happen to have a question for you in particular, Shadow.
Okay.
Did your view of this game change when you came back to it? I mean, beforehand, did you think that this was one of the better NES games that you played, and then after coming back to it, it's just really above average?
Well, playing this game when I was younger, I really didn't have quite formed opinions about video games at that time.
Okay.
I thought it was a bit of an annoying game at the time, but I thought maybe that was just me. Coming back to it, I realized it wasn't just me. So while I do like the game, I don't feel that my opinion of it has really made an impact of how I was younger.
All right then. Well, guys, I think that about wraps things up for us. It's my turn to pick a game out now, and I've got no clue what I'm gonna pick. How do I do that? Anyway, yeah, we're about done here. So, I guess be safe, guys. This is the Random Podcast of Awesomeness with Grid at 14 and
Shadow Wolves. Thanks for listening, guys.
Have a good night.